Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Magically Cruising, the cruise podcast where we share our personal cruise tips and reviews to help you make the most out of your next sailing. My name's Kieran. I'm an independent travel agent specializing in all things cruise, Disney, and North America, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host.
Hi, I'm Sarah, and I write over at Mini Travellers, Cruising for All, and Cruising with Kit.
And this week, we're going to actually talk more about a land holiday. However, this is a land holiday you can have that is an extension of a kind of land and cruise package. And it's some of that I know I'm a big fan of, hence the Magical Traveller in my travel brand. But Sarah, I know you also share a deep passion for visiting Orlando in Florida as well.
I do. I'm obsessed. So yeah, this is something that obviously we don't do every year because my family won't, but we've done it at intervals as the kids have grown up and are going again next year, potentially twice, because I just love it.
Yeah. And I think the reason why we've decided to talk about this is if you're one of our American listeners, I'm sure it's no surprise to you guys just how important kind of Orlando or Florida is to the cruise market. I think it's, and Sarah's got some figures you can share with us in a bit, but it is I think the number one destination for departures in the world for cruises, because obviously the great connections to the Caribbean. But then also for fans who are big fans of like theme parks and themed attractions as well, you've also got kind of, the number one tourist destination in the world, which is Central Florida, Orlando, with Walt Disney World, Universal, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, all those world-class theme parks as well. So it's not uncommon for people to head to Florida to do kind of a cruise, but then also for British people who are sailing over and doing those longer 2, 3 week, 4 week holidays in the summer holidays to maybe do a land and sea holiday where they may go to kind of the theme parks for a week and then maybe do a week long cruise as well. But yeah, Sarah, do you have some of those facts to share with everyone about just roughly how many ships do depart from Florida?
Right, so according to a recent CLEAR report about the state of the cruise industry, I'm going to have to read my notes, sorry, but more than 20 million passengers sailed the Caribbean islands in 2022 compared between 2019 and 2022 compared to 6 million out of Europe. So it's a massive difference, but I suppose we're limited here, aren't we, in Europe? That I'm only going to sail Europe in the summer. I've no interest in getting cold, as you know, but the Caribbean's always hot.
And that's the thing as well. I think for a lot of people to realize as well about a lot of the ships that kind of come to Europe in the winter, they come to Europe in the summer, they home port in the Caribbean during the winter. So again, that capacity in the winter just gets even bigger again then, because that's obviously where the warm weather is and there's a lot more ships as well. So, it's a great opportunity if you are looking for a winter sun as well, definitely to look at the Caribbean sailings, because generally as well, because there's so much competition, you're going to get some great prices as well on those winter sailings.
We got a great deal this year on, was it February? We flew into Miami, cruised on NCL, and we all agreed, it was a big group of friends, and we all said this is the way forward. It was fabulous and not packed, the ship was busy, but not like peak Mediterranean season. It felt like a real treat in those dull summer months.
And that's the thing, like for us, at least anyway, in the UK with our weather patterns, I think winter sailing, like we normally try to do September, October, November time for us, just because that's when it's a bit cooler, but you've still got kind of the warm evenings, so you're not having to kind of wear jumpers and things outside if you didn't want to. And you're still heading to the Caribbean again, that Caribbean weather. Like I was on Perfect Day Coco Cay in December and the weather was gorgeous. I was in my Speedos running around on the private beach there in the Cabana area. But I was absolutely letting like, wow, maybe one of the off budget ones type of thing, one of the ones you find in the pound aisle and check out but no, I was there literally like in the Caribbean, and it was December 12th, 13th off the top of my head, and I'm in the Caribbean on Royal Caribbean's private beach, enjoying the sun, having cocktails and everything. Like, what's not to love? That's incredible.
Do you know I've never done Perfect Day, and it's always been Perfect Day, and then what was it before that as well? They've got the other island, haven't they? Labadee. And they've always been at the top of my list, and I've just never got there. And I think we had once on a cruise port, we got cancelled, obviously, before. So, yeah, I think that's really on my list to do that. And then to do a 2-center holiday for me is both of the things I love most in the world in travel, all in one thing, apart from Italy.
I think that's a really good place to start as well, jumping off kind of the Perfect Day Coco Cay conversation. And as we say, we could probably do a whole series on private islands in the Caribbean owned by the cruise lines, but Royal especially have a really strong offering for kind of Central Florida, Orlando, at least anyway, to do the Disney parks, because you've got now Utopia of the Seas launching next winter, and you've also got Wonder of the Seas currently sailing as well. So you've got regular 7-night sailings doing East and West Caribbean, but you've also got Utopia launching next winter as well, doing 3 and 4 night sailings, all of them stopping off at Perfect Day Coco Cay. Now, the reason why that's really cool is if you are somebody who maybe wants to do a 2-week holiday from the UK, you've got the option to do a 7-night sailing and then also do the theme parks as well for 7 nights. But then equally as well, if you wanted a shorter break and you wanted to maybe do like, 2-3 days in the theme parks, like a lot of Americans do, they will do maybe 2 or 3 days at Disney. They can also then still do a 3-day, 4-day Caribbean cruise with Royal Caribbean and do Perfect Day Coco Cay, go off to Nassau and still have that land and sea holiday in a more shorter condensed break as well. So they've got a fantastic option, regardless of kind of, how long you want to go away for. It is possible within, say, 7-day period to do a land and sea holiday with Royal Caribbean. Disney offer the same as well with their ships. They've got their ship sailing as well from Port Canaveral, where you can equally do, again, a 3-4 night sailing and do their private island, Castaway Cay. Or you could do 7-night East and West Caribbean as well from Orlando. And it's about a 45 minute drive away from kind of Orlando International or from the theme parks.
I mean, we've actually got an article about this, which I'll link in, back to Royal Caribbean again, because that's we always do this, don't we? But this is the first time that they've ever launched a brand new ship, I believe, on 3 and 4 night sailings straight into the short sailings. They've always been longer, and then they've progressed to short sailing. So if you're a real Royal Caribbean fan, which we are, then it's a great way to get on the new ship. Obviously, new ships aren't the cheapest ships to book, but you can do a 4 and a 3 night sailing if your time's short and still get to see all the stuff on the ship. And this ship has got so much on it. But again, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, well, we have a full episode, so definitely do search back. We've got our first impressions of Utopia this season as well, so have a hunt down for that. It's an Oasis class ship. But yeah, it's a great chance. And I think these shorter sailings, they're not for everyone. They're not like for cruise fans. I don't think short sailings are always ideal just because you don't really get enough time to really bed into the ship. But if you've never cruised before and you're a little bit apprehensive of will I enjoy it, then definitely a short sailing, and particularly in the Caribbean, these short sailings are fantastic for kind of going, I can get a feel for a cruise ship, but I'm not on it for a full week type of thing. So if I find I maybe get motion sickness, or I don't like being surrounded by people, or maybe, I don't like all the kids on board, a short 3-night sailing is a fantastic way to try it, but especially as well to get to Perfect Day Coco Cay. I can't underestimate that is an attraction in itself. It is worth doing that itinerary alone just to do Perfect Day Coco Cay.
As you know, that I'm definitely prefer a week sailing, but we're doing Florida in April, and we've booked a 5-night sailing with Royal Caribbean. And the reason we've done that is because we want more time at Universal and maybe the odd day at Disney. So when you're traveling from the UK, sorry if you're in the US, obviously you're really lucky and you're there, and I wish I was, but when you have to come from the UK and you've got all that time to travel, you lose your first day because you've got jet lag, especially if you're traveling with kids. I mean, all right, you're up early, so there's no argument for getting to the park, but you've only got so much time off work and you've got to fit it in for that trip. So our next trip, we're away 16, 17 days and we're only on a 5-night cruise. So it is a good time to do that if you want to fit in Universal and the parks as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what they're designed for. Definitely Port Canaveral especially is designed for kind of bookending, onto a land holiday. And I think, we can talk more as well about kind of just why you'd want to do that. Because obviously the cruise, we've talked about Cruise to the Cows Come Home, and there are so many fantastic, itineraries you can do from Port Canaveral. East and West Caribbean are quintessential classic cruise itineraries. But it's like, going to Disney World as well, especially like you could spend, I have done 3-week holidays to Disney World alone and still not felt like I've done everything you can do in Walt Disney World. Sometimes that puts people off and they're a bit like, oh my God, how am I going to cope if I only do a week? You can also do a week. I'm just a weirdo. I obsess over everything. And like, I see every show, I see multiple versions of it because I like to kind of, capture it for memory and for blogging and things like that. You can have a wonderful time doing a 2-3 night, 4-night break at Walt Disney World, but you can also do a longer break if you wanted to. So yeah, having that flexibility to kind of mix and match what you want to do, whether you want to do a longer Caribbean cruise and a shorter land break, or do a longer land break and then go on and do kind of a shorter cruise. Totally flexible to do that within the central Florida belt, at least anyway.
And you can go back again and again. I mean, this will be is trip number 4 for us, so not like some diehard Disney people, but we haven't done Tron. We haven't done Velociraptor. So there's so many things that we haven't done at Universal and Disney. I definitely want to go in the cafe, the bar from Star Wars. So every time you go, there's more stuff anyway. So you can just go again and again for shorter trips if that's what works out with your work schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've done 32 trips to Walt Disney World in total, and we've bought into the Disney I've got the like we've bought into the Disney Vacation Club as well, which again, that's a whole other conversation, but that's the Disney timeshare. So me and Phil now, we have a timeshare at Walt Disney World. I'm not going to go into it because it's not necessarily right for everyone, but it was right for us. So that gives us the opportunity to go every year if we wanted to. And as Sarah said, there's so much. Even the time, like I was there last in 2019, I think it was the last time I was able to go, just down to the COVID regulations and things we've done since then. Since then, they've added, as you say, Tron's now come to the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World. You've got Ratatouille in Epcot. They're just about to open a whole new Moana attraction and kind of redeveloping the front entrance of Epcot. There's all new nighttime entertainment, new shows. There's always new food to try, new parades, new shows, new nighttime. Since the time we've been until the time we'll probably get to go next, there's been 3 new nighttime shows that have come, gone, and been replaced in the Magic Kingdom and then Epcot alone. There's always something new. And that's before we then talk about the other attractions. Like, you can't underestimate how important Universal is as well. And I think Universal is becoming every year a bigger and bigger draw. It's always been kind of like people would go, oh, you've got Disney and Universal. For some people now, they say, I'm going to Orlando for Universal, and Disney doesn't even enter the equation for them because Universal's become such a fantastic resort for families to go to now as well.
Well, that's what we're doing next time. We're staying at Universal, and we plan to spend most of our time at Universal, but then we're going to go to Disney, try and do 2 days because there's stuff that we want to see that we haven't seen before. But I want to stay on the City Walk. I want to get the boat in every day, and that was the draw for me. And the hotels at the moment just seem so much better value for like. Then they're a lot better value at Universal at the moment.
Yeah, I don't want to officially say that because it's a very soft thing. If you get it, it's very emotional about kind of which one's the best is best. But if you look in black and white, how far your money will go a lot further at Universal than it would go at Walt Disney World. Disney will kill me if they listen to this. It's a very valid point at the end of the day, and this is where I do feel like moving forward, Universal is going to become a very strong competitor in the Central Florida market, because 2025 they're also opening Epic Universe now as well, their 3rd theme park as well, adding into that Volcano Bay, their water park, and then multiple resort offering. They have an incredibly strong portfolio now of experiences that you can have with some world-leading franchises that are going to give families a fantastic holiday. You could spend a whole week soon at Universal, which if you were to ask me, 5 years ago plus, I would never have said Universal for longer than a couple of nights. Whereas now, easily, you could spend a week and longer at just Universal and their theme parks, and especially 2025 onwards with Epic Universe. Then pair that with, Royal Caribbean or something like that as well. I think you've got a fantastic 2-week holiday just between those 2 products alone.
I mean, I think I could just spend a week at Harry Potter, just pretending I live there. Going to school every day, pretending I'm a teacher.
When have you seen, it's small things as well? It's not just the big attractions. Like, I love Escape for Gringotts. It's probably one of my favorite roller coasters over there as well. But small things like the fact you can buy a wand and you can go around and interact with the lands, the 2 different lands as well in the 2 theme parks, and use your wand to cast spells, and the land reacts to you as well. I've seen kids spend the whole day just looking for all those experiences to kind of, do the wand casting and things like that. Going into Ollivander's and spending a small fortune to buy a wand, but having that really magical experience where kind of the show takes place. Do you get what I mean? These are experiences that you have to go to Disney for, and nobody else would touch it. Nobody else could do it anymore.
Yeah.
But absolutely, you can have those really magical moments in Universal just as much now. The Triceratops breeding grounds as well in Jurassic Park, where you can go watch kind of dinosaurs hatching from eggs, and you get to go kind of see them birthing baby Triceratops and things like that. These are really cool moments for the whole family. Whereas a few years ago, Universal had the impression of it was for the teens, it was for the cool kids. Totally family friendly now as well, and something for pretty much the whole family to be done in Universal.
Do you know that is the most scared I've ever been on a ride in my life? Was on the Jurassic Park. Not the Velociraptor, just the one that you go through the river.
Yeah.
And we got on in the morning and we got right to the front of the park because I love Jurassic Park. Yeah. So I think we'd done Harry Potter. I wouldn't have got to Harry Potter yet. We maybe did it over 2 days, and we went on that ride and there was only us on it. So there's 4 of us going up when the raptors are loose. I have never been so frightened in my life. And it's not real, but I'm still thinking, it's going to get me. It's going to get me.
Yeah.
It's so realistic. And Dr. Seuss. I could talk all day about Universal. I just love it. And Disney, but Dr. Seuss, I love that ride.
So I suffer with submechanophobia, which is such a weird phobia to have as a theme park fan. But it's basically a fear of machinery and water. so let alone the fact that attraction has giant Tyrannosaurus Rexes coming out trying to chase you down type of thing as you're going down the chute at the end of it. I sit there in fear all the time of all the pumps and the machinery, the conveyor belts on all these attractions. Yeah, honestly, even Small World, even attractions like It's a Small World, so I can't sit on the outside edge of any of the boat rides in any theme park because I get freaked out. Like, generally feel like when people see spiders and they freak out. That's how I feel the entire time. Even on It's a Small World, all the giant robots singing to me, sending me on edge because there's water nearby, and I can't fathom it. It's such an irrational.
Get electric shock.
Yeah, getting in swimming pools though, it's such a weird thing. But in swimming pools as well, so like wave machines in swimming pools, the fans and the pumps in swimming pools freak me out. But light fixtures as well in swimming pools. If I touch a light fixture in a pool by accident, it freaks me out, and I have to get out of the pool. It's such a weird thing to have. I know.
I mean, that's like,
So if you add in,
you need counselling on that, really.
I can say, where do they begin? But that won't be the starting point, but it'll be a good place to get
Oh
back.
my God, I'm going to take a torch on our next cruise. I'm going to get you in the pool. Not sharks, just put a torch on your back, not a shark's fin.
It's such a weird one. Like water parks as well. Like water parks are just so an emotional roller coaster because I absolutely love water parks as well. But equally, I'm always a bit like, where's the pumps? Where's the water? Where's the water coming from? How's that get there? It's just a weird
Do you know
thing.
what? I love Small World. My whole family hate it because I have to go on it every time I go because it's just beautiful. I've got that song in my head to the end of the day. It goes mad, but I love it.
We play a game when we go with my family. Is that we go on it guaranteed without fail? Because as you say, it's a classic Disney experience. You have to do it to Small World. But we have a game basically. The first person after we come off it who sings the song has to buy lunch. And literally, we played the game with my nan. Within about 5 minutes, my nan's like, "It's a small." I'm saying, and I'm just like, "You nan."
So, I mean, obviously, again, like always, we've just gone straight into what we're excited about, the theme park.
Yeah.
How easy is it, as from your agent perspective? You know, obviously, I've just booked this, so. But how easy is it to book a package with cruise and sail? How easy is it to get from the port to the ship, the airport to the ship, or the port to the lot?
There's a lot of things to consider. And I would only talking about Central Orlando. There's a whole other conversation about Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and so on and so forth. But for Central Florida, you obviously fly into MCO, which one of the Royal Caribbean sales managers said they refer to as Mickey's corporate office. So MCO is Orlando International Airport, basically. And it's going to be, at the moment anyway, it's a short transfer drive. You used to be able to get a free shuttle with Disney if you stayed in a Disney hotel. That has stopped, but you can get a coach transfer. But to be honest, I now just recommend to my customers, they just get an Uber. It is so much cheaper than prepaying for kind of a shuttle. If you've got like a big family, then, debatable. But just get an Uber generally to the theme parks or hire a car. A lot of my customers will hire a car just because they can then explore the other attractions around Orlando. And driving in Florida, I personally think is really easy, but everyone's comfort level with driving on the other side of the road is different. But no, like Orlando International is like 40-minute drive, if most, from Walt Disney World, maybe 20 from Universal. So very easy to get an Uber, very easy to drive to. You can pay for a shuttle coach if you wanted to, so you don't want to drive a car, you can get a shuttle coach quite easily as well. Port Canaveral, the cruise terminals, say 45 minutes, 50 minutes away from Central Florida. So that, again, generally you have to get a shuttle or a taxi to do that, and that can be quite expensive. So maybe consider if you're staying in like Walt Disney World doing a Disney cruise, you can pay Disney to do their shuttle transfer. That's generally quite easy to do. So it's doable, but there are things to consider, at least anyway, about how you get around in between the different attractions, at least anyway. But if you kind of just want to stay in one base, that's very easy to do.
Do you know what we did last? I mean, we stayed at Miami. We flew into Miami, so I suppose it's a slight difference. But we didn't want to drive around Disney. We stayed on site. My husband drives to Manchester every day. He doesn't want to do it, and I definitely don't want to do it. So what we did was we hired a one-way car.
Oh, one-way rental.
Yeah, and you can drop them off at downtown Disney. So what we did was we went to the hotel, flew down from driving to Miami, and then just dropped all the cases off at the hotel, unpacked, went to downtown Disney, dropped the car off, had dinner, got the transport back. So I wonder if they do that into Universal, actually.
So I know from experience in Disney, at least anyway, if you use certain car hire companies, and Alamo is one of them, because Alamo is my go-to partner. So if ever I'm hiring a car, I will always suggest Alamo. Myriad of reasons. It's not that anyone's awful, but I've had more consistent good experiences with Alamo than of any of the other car rental companies. Enterprise is fantastic, but Enterprise can be quite expensive. And there are car hire companies I would avoid like the plague, but that's another conversation. But on a tangent, sorry. Alamo, will come and collect you, from your Walt Disney Resort. So in your Walt Disney room, there is a phone number to call the car rental company. You can call them and they will come and collect you via the shuttle bus and take you to the car rental terminal, which is just south of the Magic Kingdom. And equally at the end of it as well, then you can get a shuttle to the theme parks or to your hotel if you wanted to after you dropped your car off and picked it back up again. I don't know about Universal. I've never personally done it at Universal, but definitely for Disney anyway, they will come and collect you and take you to the car rental office.
It's definitely worth doing. I mean, it worked for us because I think what we did at the end was we got a car the day before we needed it to go back to Miami, and then we did Universal that day. And it just really worked. Yeah. Maybe that's an option this time. Maybe if we can find it in Universal to do Disney at the end and then drive to the port and drop off. But it definitely makes it easier. And it does save you money if you don't want the car for the whole week. You don't have to pay for parking or for cars, because obviously that's all the expense.
Well, that's come back now. So if you would have travelled to, say, Walt Disney World in the last couple of years, you did have to pay parking regardless. They did start charging for overnight parking for hotel guests at Disney World, at least. So if you're staying in a Disney hotel, it used to be free. Then they started charging. Starting from January 2024, parking is now free to stay overnight in a Disney hotel. So again, there are perks to staying in a Disney hotel and perks to staying in a Universal hotel as well. Again, that's a whole other conversation about what the pros and cons are. But definitely moving forward from January onwards, you will be able to hire a car and park overnight for free, which then means you can then park and drive to the Disney theme parks for free. Just obviously, if you're staying in Disney, driving to Universal, you'll have to pay, and vice versa. If you're staying in Universal and driving to Disney, you'll have to pay to park at Disney as well.
So it's easy to book as a package, isn't it? So if you want you want the car, you want the cruise, you want the hotel. Is that doable?
Yeah. It's all tailor-made. I will say that from the UK perspective, and I assume the American agents are the same as well, because they're all bespoke products. So there's no one that will just off the shelf be able to offer you all of it type of thing. So whenever I build a package like that for customers, it's all tailor-made. So I will source the beds, we call them beds, I'll source the hotel separately, the car hire separately, the cruise will all be packaged separately, and then I will use our ATOL license for us in the UK to make that an ATOL protected holiday. There's loads of options and variables around it about kind of deposits and things like that. But in general, no, it's all tailor-made because it is a multi-center holiday. So it's even if you want to do like a split stay in Universal and Disney, that's something that I've done quite a lot. So customers will have a week in Disney and a week in Universal. That's also tailor-made as well because they're different suppliers who supply Disney rooms versus who supply Universal rooms. So we have to package it together. But you only deal with me for it, but it is all tailor-made to every customer. And I think I could probably say the majority of Orlando holidays would all be tailor-made and packaged by a tour operator or a travel agent, just because the nature of it. Even if you just go into one place and stay in just Disney, generally you'll use a tour operator to package it to get an ATOL protected holiday. I think the key thing with it is just that you can totally tailor make this. I know it's easier for people to advertise of go to Disney for 14 days and that's it. But I think the key thing for me to stress with a lot of people who are looking at Central Florida is, yes, Disney's amazing. And I love Disney. I've been so many times and it's my favorite place to go in the world. But there is so much more to Florida in general, let alone Central Orlando. So don't be afraid to mix up your holiday as well and have a split stay. So do a land and cruise holiday. You know, some customers of mine will do a villa break. So they'll go into a private villa to have that family time together, self-catering holiday, but then they'll treat themselves to like 4 or 5 days luxury in one of the top tier hotels in Disney or Universal to have that really nice, you know, indulgent experience of doing the theme parks as well. So it's not like you have to go and just stay in the same hotel for the entire 2-week or 3-week break that you're having. You can mix and match it with different things, even maybe drive down to Miami and do that. So I've got customers who are doing that. They're flying in, doing a week in Disney, going down to Miami, doing 2 nights in Miami, and then they're doing a Virgin cruise as well. So they're mixing Disney and Virgin on the same holiday from Orlando and Miami and hiring a car and all that type of thing. I've got another one who's doing the same, going down to the Keys after their cruise. There's just so much to see and do in Orlando, like in Florida, that you don't have to stay in just the Disney bubble if you don't want to.
And I think that's the thing in February, we did a couple of nights in Miami, and I always thought, it's probably going to be overrated and I'm probably not going to love it. But I mean, I just fell in love with Miami. I will definitely do Miami again next October. And that's the problem. I mean, if you're American, then you live there again. You can fit it in and you can fit it into a shorter space of time, maybe because you can do multiple trips. If you're going from the UK or anywhere else in the world that it's a bit of a trek, then you've almost got to fit as much as you can in with a bit of downtime, because the flights aren't cheap. So you've got to factor in that, I'd rather go for more days and go less and pack more in.
Generally, yeah. So until we had the dog, that's what we used to do as well. So when we didn't have to worry about kind of childcare, we would go away for 3-4 weeks at a time, just because, like you say, by the time you're doing that flight, and like it is long haul, so you've got the time difference and things like that. But we would definitely do 3-4 week breaks, and we would do a lot of mixing it up, staying in different hotels, just again trying things and trying exploring things. On the whole, it's rare that I would sell a 7-day holiday to Orlando, just because long haul being what it is. That's not to say they don't exist. Some people will literally fly over, do the cruise, fly back. So they do exist totally. We're talking purely from a UK perspective. Now, UK customers travel very differently to American customers. So just to preface that to any of our American listeners. But generally, yeah, for Orlando, I'd say 10 to 14 is the typical. And then there are extremes where people will go for 21 days, 4 weeks type of thing at the kind of extreme end. But generally, if they're going for that long, it's usually they're staying in a villa.
So let's talk about times to avoid at Disney, because we did this year and we booked. Now, it's okay because we were there a bit longer, so we can adjust the time that the place we were going to Disney. But
yeah,
the first weekend we're there, it's Disney Run.
We're on Disney weekends, yeah.
Yeah, and there's so much to think about, isn't there? Because all we focused on was, right, the cruise. We went out of school holidays because obviously it's cheaper and the kids are at school now. So we looked at that, but then what we didn't look at was what was on at Disney. We just thought about the school holidays are on, we're good. Then we realised there's a marathon going through Disney. Now,
yeah,
as someone that's not going to be at the marathon, I'm sure that's not going to be much fun for me. So, and also the parks are going to be packed. Am I right?
Yeah. So Run Disney weekends, for those that don't know, that obviously Disney run their own marathon series of events, and they have exploded in popularity and got bigger and bigger and bigger. They are weekend-long events, and they usually tend to have 2 or 3 a year. Now, I've been, and I by accident just happened to be in the Walt Disney World when it was happening, and it is a nightmare just because it does add extra capacity to whichever park is hosting the run. So on our trip, it was Epcot, and Epcot was just so busy after the run. So the other side of it as well is it creates a bit of a transportation nightmare as well, because the day the run is happening, all the transport's diverted and relocated around. So it does cause a bit of I want to get from this park to this park, and I've got to avoid the marathon. So you can see all the dates. So definitely, they're usually kind of on a 12-month window where you're going to see them. So if you ever kind of go in, when shall I book, then definitely check Run Disney. There's usually one around about February time off the top of my head, usually one about September time, but I never know for sure. I don't think it's every year. They're always the same dates.
I think it's more. I think April's the new one next year.
Possibly. They normally do like a generic one. They normally do a food festival one themed around Epcot Food Festival. It's like the Wine and Dine, I forgot what it's called now, but like there's normally one themed around the Food and Wine Festival anywhere at Epcot. And they normally have a princess one, which is obviously anyone can join it, but it's aimed at kind of inspiring women to do more running, ultimately the princess one. But they'll have random themed ones as well. They've done a Star Wars one randomly one year. They'll do a Marvel themed one. It's the whole schedule. You can do these in Europe as well. So you can do them at Disneyland Paris. I think there's 1 or 2 a year in Disneyland Paris, equally as well in Disneyland in California. So yeah, it's not that you have to avoid it, but it's just be mindful that it will have an impact on your plans if you go. If you've got your heart set on maybe only doing Epcot and the run is themed and is going through Epcot that day, Epcot will be incredibly busy just because the run will finish in Epcot and people will generally then spend the rest of their day in Epcot that day. So just keep it on your radar.
But the other festival I'd really want to see, not really want to see because we've been quite a lot when it's there, is I love the Flower Festival. So that's always around Easter. And that's amazing. Again,
I need to get Phil back.
It is just, well, you can go next year, can't you? Oh, it's childcare.
Childcare, yeah. We're already mapping out our childcare for next year with our transatlantic at the moment. So, but I think that's probably worth alluding upon a bit more. Is about how Epcot and its festivals work as well. So Epcot has a series of festivals throughout the whole year, and I love all of them. Some people don't like them. I absolutely adore every festival. So generally around about February time, they have Festival of the Arts. So that is a season that is all inspired by kind of artists, all the kind of work that the artists do for Disney. And it's really, really cool because you'll see pop-up paintings, you'll see kind of people creating artwork around the theme park. There's loads of new food, new entertainment inspired around kind of just the creativity of being creative with art type of thing. Then, as you just said, then as well, kind of moving into spring, we get into kind of the Flower and Garden Festival, which again is a celebration of kind of all things gardening ultimately. So again, you'll have all new food program as well, all new entertainment themed around food and around flower and gardening as well. And then when you tend to get to kind of then the summer, and this has got bigger and bigger every year. It started off as like a 6-8 week festival, and it's now pretty much like 4 months. You then get into the food and drink festival, which is my favorite, where there are then tons of kind of food stands available then across Epcot, where you can sample food from around the world. You kind of get to sample small little trail bites and things like that as well. So if you're a foodie, it's definitely one to put on your radar. I believe the dates start now like July right the way through to kind of off the top of my head, like early October off the top of my head. But then straight out of that, we then run into the Festival of Holidays, which is then the Christmas festival, where they're celebrating holiday traditions from around the world, which is kind of like the food and drink festival, but it's more Christmas themed. So they've got food inspired by different Christmas cultures from around the world, or more kind of holiday cultures around the world as well, with, again, lots of Christmas entertainment as well and theming. It's the most magical time. Disney at Christmas, there's no better place on the planet.
That is my dream, actually. So for my 40th, I wanted to do Disney for my 40th. Anyway, I was teaching then, so we had an Ofsted inspection. So I wasn't allowed to have the time off near Christmas, so we couldn't do that. So I ended up, it was the last week of Halloween. So we did Paris, and it was amazing going to Disney at Halloween. I want to do Florida at Halloween, but I definitely want to. I was so lucky because the morning we got up to come home, they started to put the Christmas decorations out. So I got to see it, but only for a couple of hours. I really want to go back at Christmas because I just think, Disney's magical, isn't it? Any time of year, but Mickey at Christmas. Amazing.
If you're lucky and you time it, again, Brits tend to go away on average for like 10 to 14 days type of thing. But if you go at the end of October, so me and Phil quite frequently will go maybe like October 27th, 8th, right the way through to kind of the first weeks of November, you get to see the Magic Kingdom especially transforming day by day from Halloween to Christmas, because obviously they have their Christmas event, their Halloween events right the way up until kind of, October, the end of October for Halloween. But then the Christmas event quite literally starts like a week or two later as well. So you could walk into Main Street on like the 1st of November and have Christmas decorations up in Main Street, but then walk further back and still have Halloween decorations up in the other legs of the park. So it's kind of like this amazing, weird week and a half period where the two holidays quite literally collide in the Magic Kingdom as they're taking down Halloween and putting Christmas up in the same park.
So when we're there next year, I'm going. Because it's Christmas. Christmas. Oh my God.
Well, we're on, well, we get off, don't we? So generally, the earliest I've known Christmas to be fully installed is the 7th of November from my memory. That's the date that sticks in my head because we were there for it. It was the first Christmas party in the Magic Kingdom. And by it literally in that 7-day lead up, we got to see each part of the park day by day just transform more and more into a Christmas wonderland.
Oh, when do we come back? When do we get off the ship? I'm sure I'll be there. I cannot not come back. I can't go and not do Disney at Christmas.
So we dock on the 7th of November. So Christmas will be in full swing.
Yes. Right. So that actually leads on to something that we wasn't going to talk about, but I'm just going to push you on this now. We don't fully understand it. Well, you understand it more than me. But I can get the Brightline.
Yes. Yeah. Brightline is
go to Disney and come back. I'm doing it.
Mm. This is so exciting, and this solves one of the biggest problems with Florida and getting around ultimately is the lack of public transport. And the Brightline, for those that don't know, is a new train service that's being built currently, and they're still finishing off the extension for it. But it allows you to catch a train pretty much connecting by the spring 2024 Miami Airport right the way through to Orlando International Airport as well. But it allows you as well to stop off relatively close as well to the cruise terminal in Miami, but also the cruise terminal in Port Everglades, so in Fort Lauderdale. So you can go straight from kind of Central Florida, do a 3.5-hour train journey right to the two cruise terminals down in the south of Florida as well, which, considering the options before were to either hire a car or to pay for a very expensive coach, is such a blessing to the area.
It is, because we've hired a car and drove one way, but now to just be able to jump on the train and chill out for that journey, especially when you've been driving. I think we stayed overnight in a hotel to make sure we got some sleep, and then was up early the next day and drove down.
And this is like a really premium train as well. This isn't like, taking one of the local trains here in the UK or kind of some of the trains I've seen in America, Amtrak and that, which are a little bit, in the politest way, a bit run down and not a nice experience. These are really high-end, beautiful trains. Even at the standard entry level, you're getting a really high-end service type of thing, but you can also pay for premium. And I treat myself in strange places, but I will totally pay for the premium service on board Brightline because it includes a lounge before you kind of get on board your train as well, which is included then all the snacks and tea, coffee, and I'm pretty sure I've seen reviews where they've had like alcohol, like wine and beer as well for you to kind of do. So what a lovely way to start a train journey, especially if you're doing that longer, Orlando down to Miami to catch a cruise from south of Florida. That would be amazing. But then there's also the option as well then to extend it with concierge service as well. So they'll do within a certain mile radius of the train station as well. They'll do door to door. So if you are going straight from Orlando to the cruise terminal, you'd have to be on an early train, but it is possible to then be at the cruise terminal by about midday-ish and then get a chauffeur take you straight to the cruise terminal. I think that's a fantastic way to travel and solve that problem of how do you get from Disney Universal down to Miami to take a cruise from Miami.
It definitely definitely makes getting around so much easier, doesn't it?
It's just an extra cost that nobody really wants, really. And I guess, like, obviously, the bigger the group, then the cheaper a car could become. But just if you don't want the hassle, and I'll be honest, like, I'm not a big fan of driving. I don't mind driving in Orlando or Florida, but I just don't enjoy it anymore. It's not something that I look forward to doing. So I would weigh up the cost and kind of go with, if it's not that much more to take the train, I will always choose the train, because it's not just the cost of that, it's the cost of car parking as well. Like, as we said, Disney is now making it free in the new year. But if you then go from Disney to Universal for the day, you've still got to pay the $25, $30 to get into Universal. So,
yeah, but that's only if you're staying at Disney, though. If you're staying in a villa, then the cost is considerable because you've got to park every day.
100%.
It's only 100%. Disney Resort gets it free, or Universal if you stay at Universal.
I'm pretty sure Universal gets still paid. No, I'm pretty sure they've still got to pay. So customers of mine still paid per day. I think it's cheaper than Disney from my memory. I don't have the figures in front of me, sorry, but you do well. When I last had customers traveling last year, they still had to pay to stay in Universal and park a car. Very few of my customers will hire a car anymore. Just the last customers of mine that did hire a car to stay at Universal, they had to pay per day.
Well, when we're going to Universal this time, and so we were between the Adventura and Sapphire Falls, obsessed with Marvel. So I loved the Adventura. Is it Adventura? Is that what it's called? The
Ventura, yeah. It's nothing to do with Marvel.
Adventure. No, but it looks like Marvel. Reminds me of Marvel. In my mind, it is. I think you'll find it's a bit modelled on it, but subconsciously somewhere. Anyway, but we went for Sapphire Falls because if you get the boat, you go straight into Universal City.
Into the City Walk, yeah.
If you get the bus, which is free still, so that's great. And then you have to go outside and go through the escalator. I mean, that is a right trick. So that's why we chose to go that way, to get into the centre of it easier.
Those resorts as well, though. So the Sapphire Falls, I'm pretty sure it's Portofino. I'm going to get shot by like Universal hardcore fans. Portofino, Hard Rock Hotel, and there's one more that I can't remember the name of. They're like their high-end, super deluxe resorts, but that's one of the perks you get for it. Is the fact that you can get the water taxi, yes, from your hotel to City Walk type of thing. There's loads of other perks like extra early hours, express passes and things like that. So I think you get early access to Wizarding World of Harry Potter. You get express passes as well for each time you're staying in those top 4 deluxe resorts. Whereas Aventura is premium, if I'm right. So it's kind of more, the best way to do it is like a 4-star rather than a 5-star. Whereas the one you're staying in Sapphire Falls is definitely one of the 5-star ones. You get the top access.
We don't. It's the one resort that's in the middle that you don't get the fast pass. You don't get it with our hotel. No, so that's why a lot of people say stay in Sapphire Falls. Don't stay in Sapphire Falls. They say it's one of the, from people that reviewed it. When you watch vloggers, they'll say it's the best pool that they all think. But you've got to go up to the next level, which is
Sapphire Falls. You'd get Wizarding World access.
But you don't get the fast
your
pass.
Express. Yeah. So you've got to stay in Portofino Bay.
It's
Royal Pacific was the one.
That's it. The difference of the Express Pass is actually the difference of staying in the next hotel up. But just
totally.
We wanted to stay there because we were next door to my friends who were in Adventure, so that's why we chose that.
You're right. Sorry, I knew I clearly need to redo my Universal training. But Sapphire Falls, is between the two. But it's Royal Pacific, Hard Rock, and Portofino are the ones where if you do stay in them, you do get express passes included in your stay as well.
Which is excellent. But then saying this, last time we went, I mean, we probably will get the express pass again. If you do too many of them CGI rides back to back, I had to sit with my head between my knees. I had to miss some rides. Like Chris and the rides were off. I was like, I think it was. Do you know what did me was the Simpsons ride? Just woof.
Really?
After that, I couldn't do what's the one next door? I couldn't do it.
There's Men
I
in
really
Black
want to do.
directly next to it, but then across you've got like the Jimmy Fallon, Escape New York one. There's Fast and Furious is nearby, Transformers as
Okay,
well.
that's
They're all within it. Universal Orlando had a bit of a reputation of being the shake you in front of a screen park, because a lot of the attractions do literally sit you in a vehicle and shake you in front of a screen type of thing. Because you had like Shrek 4D, you've obviously got Transformers, you've got the Fast and Furious, you've got Simpsons, Jimmy Fallon. They're all attractions where you're watching the screen. Yeah. Except big shaking either you are or so they've slowly been kind of backtracking those attractions and replacing them. So there's a new attraction coming now this summer. The Minions attraction replaces the Shrek attraction. So, you know, they're building a whole new land now as well around kind of the DreamWorks characters as well, for kind of the little kids as well. So you get to go meet all the DreamWorks characters. That's opening spring 24 off the top of my head. So there's lots of new stuff coming as well to Universal, kind of just make it so it's not quite so many simulator-like attractions in the park.
Yeah, and they are amazing and they're magical, but at the same time, the worst I've ever experienced was going on Rock and Roller Coaster at Paris, and I was ill for 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah, I was ill for 2 weeks, and I think it's because it was in the dark and a roller coaster.
Yeah.
See anything? I thought I was pregnant. It was awful. I was really ill. Yeah,
I'm quite lucky I don't suffer with it, but I definitely get fatigued by the attraction-based ones, the screen-based ones type of thing. They don't affect me motion sickness-wise, but definitely after you've been on like 3 or 4 of them, you start to get a little bit like, I need to look at actual things now. I need to see real things moving. So that's why on our last trip where we went with Royal, we only did Universal Orlando, and I prefer to do both parks. So I have in the past done both parks in one day. And we just pick the headline attractions and things that, you know, in my opinion, are must-sees, must-dos. Things like the Hulk coaster, the Hulk roller coaster in Islands of Adventure is a must-do. Spider-Man in Islands of Adventure is probably one of the best attractions in the world. They didn't have Velocicoaster at the time, but definitely I would say Velocicoaster in Jurassic World or Jurassic Park would be a must-do. I love, as you say, the River Adventure as well. The Jurassic Park River Adventure is so cool. It's such an amazing attraction. Then you've got Harry Potter. I forgot what it's called. Forbidden Journey, sorry, is the one in Hogwarts as well. So just spending time in Hogwarts, that's amazing. But what's really cool, and if nobody knows this, and this has been out for a while now, but you can actually take the Hogwarts Express from Islands of Adventure, one of the Universal theme parks, and take the Hogwarts Express right the way through and end up in Hogsmeade as well. Hogsmeade? Yeah, Diagon Alley, sorry. You can end up in Diagon Alley as well then in the other theme park. So you actually go between the 2 different theme parks on the Hogwarts Express, and it's worth the premium to pay for a 2-park hopper ticket to be able to do that.
I could spend just a day in Harry Potter, definitely, but I'm going to just tell you that story, and it's one of my biggest, not biggest, I've probably had a few, but parenting fails ever, was when we took Jack when he was 2, and it was when Donna got married. So Jack was a page boy at Donna's wedding. He was my other half, my partner in Cruising with Kids. And when Donna got married, she got married in Disney. Chris and I did Universal for the day and took Jack, and we really wanted to go on a Jaws ride. So Jack had this thing where he was scared of things. So like he was scared of Mufasa, say. So the whole thing was like, when we're there, we're going to find Mufasa's mum and we're going to tell her. We're going to tell her on him. And he was all right with that. Anyway, so I thought, how am I going to get round Jaws? So I said, we're going to go on the Free Willy ride, and we're going to see Free Willy, and he's going to come up along the side of the boat, and he's going to say hello, but he's got a really big mouth, and he's going to go, rah! And I didn't realise they shot him. So and they're shooting him, and as Free Willy's coming out, I was like, I told you, here he is. And he was really excited, Free Willy. And then they shot him. And he, honest to God, he was inconsolable. I had to put my head and he was going to shoot at Free Willy. Oh God! And he's 23 soon, and he's still never forgiven me. But you know what you think? How do I get around it? Not scare him, try and stop him being triggered. Yeah, and I didn't realise this.
To be fair, we did it with my brother as well, though. So we did it on Rock and Roller Coaster. We were trying to build him up to scary rides. So we were taking him on Big Thunder Mountain. We were taking him on the small coasters at first, and then we got to Hollywood Studios, and we were like, "Yeah, let's do Rock and Roller Coaster. You've been on roller coasters now. You're fine with them. This one's fine." And obviously, there's this giant Cadillac upside down outside the front of it, and he's like, "Does it go upside down?" I'm like, "No, it doesn't. It doesn't go upside down. I promise." And obviously, this roller coaster shoots you out, doesn't it? It goes from like 0 to 40 miles per hour, and you see it in the line. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the worst part. That's the worst part. You've been on faster. You've been on faster rides. The photo still to this day is one of the best ride photos ever, because you could just see my brother literally in tears, like in the ride photo, and all I could hear was my brother crying the entire way around. So it's like, but you've done it now. You've been on the
Oh, and he wasn't scared. I'm going to correct myself. He wasn't scared of Mufasa. He was scared of Scar, obviously.
Oh, well, yeah.
But yeah, that's what we do with all the big Disney bags, spinning their mums on them.
I think if you ever need tips on how to get your kids on attractions they don't want to get onto, we've got you covered.
Just lie.
Mileage may vary, but case study, we haven't had any problems.
Anyway, he's okay mentally, so we've got friends.
The character building.
Yeah, so off subject. So back to cruise and stay. It's definitely an excellent option. But just before we finish, I suppose what we've got to do is look at, I know this changes all the time, but what are your top ships that you think with all the cruise lines? Have you got one from each cruise line and where they pull? I know you're quite good on this.
Yeah, so my go-to two brands I could easily recommend that fit perfectly with the type of clients who would love Universal, 100%, then Royal Caribbean, no doubts about it. So then to have Wonder of the Seas doing 7-night East and West Caribbean as well, perfect fit for a, Universal and Royal Caribbean cruise holiday. You've also then got Utopia coming next winter. We've already talked about it, again, doing those 3 and 4 night sailings as well. Perfect fit for anyone who's going to any of the Orlando, but especially for Universal. I think they're hand in hand. Equally, Disney then also as well have their own options as well. So obviously, if you're going to do a Disney World break, have a look then at Disney. They've just announced the Disney Treasure literally the day before we filmed this episode. She's going to be doing 7-night East and West Caribbean sailings from winter 2024 onwards. So again, a perfect fit as well for somebody who's looking to do a Disney break. But equally now you also have the Wish, the other new ship they've launched as well, doing again 3 and 4 night sailing. So it's weird that all of a sudden Royal Caribbean have ships that are matching the itineraries for what Disney are doing, but there's a reason why, because it's such a perfect fit for those Universal and Orlando itineraries. So yeah, if you are maybe looking for maybe geared more toward the adults, we've talked about Celebrity not being purely for adults, but if you want something that's not quite so kid friendly, then definitely Celebrity as well have just announced they're having a series of short sailings in the winter as well. Also visiting Perfect Day Coco Cay as well, which again is a fantastic option for those who are looking to do that. There would be like really obvious go-tos for kind of short sailings. You're not going to struggle to find cruises from Port Canaveral going anywhere, especially East and West Caribbean on NCL, on MSC. All the main cruise carriers are going to have options going from Port Canaveral. Going further afield, then if you want to go from Miami, obviously my top choice is always going to be Virgin Voyages. They're going to have a ship year-round doing again 4 and 5 night sailings from Miami as well. One to keep an eye out for as well as she's on sale and she's launching this winter is going to be Icon of the Seas, which is Royal Caribbean's new class of ship as well. She's going to be doing 7-night sailings from Miami. So again, that's a really big one to factor in if you're willing to do the journey from kind of Central Florida down to Miami. Can't underestimate how cool and an awesome ship as well Icon of the Seas is going to be. Equally as well, Carnival Cruise Line, they have two of their new ships as well. May get the names wrong, but Celebration, and I want to say it's Mardi Gras, sorry. They've got their newest XL class ships as well, sailing from Miami and Port Canaveral, doing a series of sailings as well. So again, Carnival at the kind of, value ends of the market, right the way up to people like Celebrity. And even the 6-star lines will have tons of options for pretty much anywhere from from Florida, sorry.
And equally, I mean, new ships are amazing, but we've booked on Mariner next year, and that's an older ship, but it has been done up, so it's got everything that you've got on an Oasis class ship, but it's smaller and they are more affordable. So that is another option for families, because obviously it's a big budget. It's it's an expensive holiday, and you're not getting a less quantity. You're just not going on the new ship. So that is another option.
I will say as well, winter season, and we've talked about it at the top of the episode, but the winter season. So from kind of like October through to about February, March time, you can get some of the newest ships at really fantastic prices. Like I've had prices for Celebrity Beyond sailing as well now this winter, and the price is half the price. There's an 11-night sailing and it's half the price of an equivalent 11-night sailing in the Mediterranean. So if you are somebody who wants to maybe try a ship like that, Norwegian Prima is another example as well. So when Norwegian Prima is sailing in Europe, she's very expensive. Understandably so, because the itinerary she's doing, but her winter sailings in the Caribbean are a lot more affordable. Again, you will find cheaper, as Sarah said, on the smaller, older ships. But if you want to try those new, latest ships, you don't want to pay for them in like the Med or on the kind of peak season, definitely consider a winter sailing, because you're going to find much more favorable prices. Just avoid Thanksgiving weekend, which is usually the kind of last Thursday in November, just because prices go through the roof. But then obviously as well, avoid Christmas, avoid New Year's, because again, prices could easily double on some of those sailings as well. I know that's been a bit of a smorgasbord episode, as it always is with us, but I think it was just, we're excited. We're doing holidays from Orlando cruising, so it was just a really obvious topic for us to bring up. We're probably going to do another one where we talk more about maybe southern Florida as well, so kind of the Florida Keys, departing from Miami, Port Everglades as well. So there's a lot more options around that as well, and they offer slightly different holidays, but Orlando's very dear to my heart. I know Sarah as well is very excited for her holiday as well. So we just thought we'd start the conversation around why Orlando, Florida is such a fantastic destination to cruise from. I've got lots of content on my website. And obviously, if you are somebody who wants to ever do a multi-center holiday, I would absolutely love to help you. That's what I specialize in. You can find me online anywhere under magical-traveler.com or on all social media under magical-TRBLR. And then Sarah, do you want to tell the guys a little bit more about the content you have as well?
Yeah, so we've got obviously loads of cruise content over on Cruising for All, but also on Mini Travelers. We've got lots on Florida, because between myself and my partner Karen, we've travelled loads with kids of all different ages. So we've got lots of tips, booking guides. So I'll pop some links into the podcast, and we'll pop some booking links in too.
Brilliant. Great. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.